I'm Meier. I'm the Senior Vice President of North American Operations for a company called Facetec, based out of San Diego, California.
Hi, my name is Sheila Chau. I am the VP of Solutions Engineering at Mako Fintech, based out of Montreal.
I'm Kendall. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Four Eyes Financial. We're based here in St. John, New Brunswick on the East Coast.
You know, the regulations are moving and everybody agrees why. And the reason why is because the previous regulations were ineffective. Anti-money laundering regulations today almost globally are ineffective. Global money laundering could approach 5% of total global GDP on an annual basis. We're at this flux point, right? Regulators understand they have to do something fast and they have to do something big, all right? The technology is now emerging and in many cases is available. We see, hundreds, if not thousands of companies that claim to be IDV companies doing identity verification, identity proofing capabilities.
There are technologies there. We're implementing some within our platform that enable us to help validate those IDs. And as Jay said, though, so there's the identity of the person and there's the identity of the document or the token, et cetera. And within the documents, passwords, et cetera, there is coded information that can be read and translated to verify that barcode does match the information, for example, that is on that document. We're looking at aspects of that inside of our platform, and it's one way to make it easier for the FIs to accept that ID and verify that it's a valid ID. The inconsistency, though, is that even though that barcode and licenses are the same, for example, and most people do use their driver's license for the most part, there's not consistency in the license format from province to province. A little hard to keep up with the standards that are sort of not standardized yet across provinces.
Well, having gone through a lot of these implementations in my career, one thing is consistent. Any sort of KYC, KYP, AML, refresh, the requirements are completely an outsized burden for wealth managers and clients, and it's constantly an interpretation and catch-up exercise for the compliance stakeholders involved. So, I mean, the onboarding process alone it could involve new clients filling out as many as 30 forms and making sure that they're filling out the right questions. Do you have a trusted contact person identified? And then you have to subsequently encode it, translate it, collate it, put it back into the book of records. It's a lot of risk for manual errors, lost documentations, and we haven't even started talking about multiple client profiles or even householding yet. So technology comes to the rescue. We can build in the validations. We can build, have a client profile if they have businesses and entities, create that householding. That's very useful. We meet with firms that are trying to digitize all that, but they're still processing manually, or they come up with some sort of like Frankenstein solution. They have some sort of validation and then they attach it to an external e-sign provider. It doesn't provide a unified experience for the investor anymore. And that could sometimes invite distrust. The other thing is compliance is extremely important, and regulators are increasingly holding firms accountable and in terms of updating clients' information. It's really crucial to leverage technology for proper risk management and ultimately for the firm's success.
What technology does and can do is force consistency of the data and reduce the variability of data between different elements inside of the enterprise. The thing about digitization is that it can be fixed so that it cannot be changed except under certain circumstances by an authorized personnel, right? You can cryptographically lock the data so it cannot be changed. You can require a digital signature from the customer that they verify this, right? And it can be applicable across all of the different product groups. If you are doing it with a proven identity, you can authenticate that this is the correct person that's allowed to actually make those transactions. Lifecycle management gets much more simple, and the onboarding gets much more simple. The advisor's life gets much more simple. You don't have file cabinets anymore, and that data is locked. You have a rigorous discipline that keeps the lawyers out of your offices.
In our world, everything begins with a contact because it is that ultimate contact information. And we use that to power onboarding, and we use to power that for maintenance, and we use it actually for trade surveillance and suitability. And I think as people start to shift to that digital world, it's time to take advantage of, yes, you have a traditional NCAF or new account opening form, but why not ask other questions that are relative to AML or trade surveillance and suitability downstream, like a PEP marker, for example. Everyone knows if I'm a retired judge that, I'm considered a PEP at least for 5 years after retirement. So during that onboarding process, instead of saying, yes, I'm a PEP, and just going on with the account opening, why not ask the question, how long have you been retired? Which then feeds other processes downstream to help to digitize that sort of experience for individuals, which makes surveillance and suitability downstream much easier. It's about having that data connected now, becoming a single source of truth to power other systems downstream, other workflows, and then tying that together with, to Jay's point, some form of identity management so you can actually verify.
The most important thing is making sure that it is up to date. And so that the advisor's relationship to their client is absolutely critical, because without them having those conversations in the first place, it's important that maintaining that relationship and keeping up to date with just saying, hey, client ABC, how are you doing? All that stuff are talking points that can solicit more information out of their client to understand what their needs are. And that feeds right into the KYP and the suitability of things. Because if you don't have those questions, technology can automate it for you. Technology can store the information for you. But without that input,
I'm thinking about the automation of this, right? Somebody, Jay Meier opens an account at whatever brokerage firm or, financial management firm it is. My identity is verified and all of my documentation is validated and verified. So the FI knows who I am and they can apply proper suitability requirements to my account, right? We talk about a paper based society and how archaic it is. Well, most people are on email right now, and the system can be set up to automatically alert these customers that this is going to happen. We are going to update your suitability. You don't have to worry about mail lists. This is all automated, and this is the opportunity to get their new correct address. You got another year of work with this customer, and you have taken risk and out of the system and gained a ton of efficiency.
First of all, it really isn't that daunting as long as you have the right partners. It should be an exciting journey with technology, and know that there's a potential to make their lives infinitely easier. Like there's tons of automation.
Technology is fun.
It is fun. It is fun. That's the geek in me. But everyone has a voice. Everyone needs to say something, but you got to figure out what exactly is the goal here. My advice is, one, start with a small committee internally so they can have that engagement and involve with we come up with that plan. And you have a well-planned implementation, it's no longer that scary because you can hear what's going on more clearly, and then you can plan out change management essentially. So you can take the consideration, provide ease of transition for all your users, have that communication that, you know, especially for those that are traditionally married to legacy solutions, shall we say. And the most important thing is like, focus on what you're looking for when you switch to digital. Like the vendor must understand what your end goals are and why. If you automate a bad process, it's still a bad process. So take it as an opportunity to see whether your process is still with the times. Can we do with less? Do we need to update it? Then let the vendor take care of how it's done.
I do want to thank all of our awesome, great panelists. Thank you to the audience. There's going to be a slide as we close out. If there are any, final questions, feel free to reach out to us. And again, we hope to see you again soon at our next session. And have a great lunch, everyone. Thank you so much.